For today's video, we're going to be going over function notation. We're going to be looking at graphs. We're also going to be looking at equations and finding what each of these means. Now, keep in mind, when you see a number inside the parentheses, this is letter X. So anywhere that you see an X, you're going to put that number in the parentheses. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this -5 and I'm going to plug it in right there. So I have k of x, or we know what x is, so -5, equals 6 times a -5, because remember I'm plugging it in. What's a negative times a positive? A negative. What's 6 times 5? 30 plus 100 is going to give me what? 70. So let me rewrite this, k of -5, my y, or my output is going to be 70. So now we're going to do the same thing, except now we're going to plug in 10 for this x. So now I have k of 10 equals 6 times 10 plus 100. So 6 times 10 is 60, plus 100 would give me 160. So at k of 10, we're going to have 160. So remember, if I was going to graph these numbers, at 10, I would see my line hit 160. At -5, I would see it hit at 70. Let's do this last one here. And we're going to have a -12. So what we're going to do is plug it on in. So I have k of -12 equals 6 times a -12 plus 100. Now, if you don't know what 12 times 6 is, remember you can always do it off to the side. There's no embarrassment. So 6 times 2 is 12, 6 and then 72. But it's not going to be a positive 72. It's going to be a -72 because a negative times a positive is a negative. So if you subtract 100 from 75, what you're going to get is 28. So at -12 on our graph, or in our equation, we would have 28. Okay? So all we're doing when we see a number inside of the parentheses of the function, we're going to take it and we're going to put it wherever the x is, or it could be r, g, q's, anything like that. So we're going to move to the next one, down here. And what's going to happen is we're going to do the same exact thing. So I'm going to take this 4 and plug it in right here where this r is. So I have 25 minus 3 times a 4. Now, what's 3 times 4? 12. And I'm sorry, a negative times positive would be a negative, so it would be a -12. And 25. So 25 minus 12 is going to give me 13. I want you to pause this video and I want you to do these bottom two here and see what you get. Now that you've paused it, what we're going to do is we have 25 minus 3 times a -12. A negative times a negative is a positive. So 3 times 2 is 6, so it would be 36. Plus a 25. What would that give me? Well, let's see if you don't know. Add them together off to the side. 3, 4, 5, 6, so 61. So now at -12 in my function, my y is going to be 61. All right, so let's move to the bottom one here. We have 9. So I have 25 minus 3 times 9. 3 times 9 is 27. Minus 25, so 25 minus 27. That is actually going to give me a negative number, and what's that going to be? 2. So at g of 9, we're going to have -2. And it's okay if you get negative numbers. It sometimes happens. Sometimes our graph hits it. So let's move on to the next ones. So this time we're actually given a graph in order to find it. So what we're going to do is at a positive 1. So remember, this is our x number. So we need to go to our x-axis and find 1 and either go up or down and see where it hits. Well, let's see. I'm going to start going up because I know my line goes up. Oh, look. That's 1, 1. So at the function f of 1, we're going to have it equal to 1 because our y is 1. Okay, let's try the next one. Maybe this one will make sense. -3. When x is -3, what should my y be? Well, let's see. I know -3 is here, so I know that, oh look, my line is above my x-axis. I know it's going to be right there. So what is going to be my y output? It's going to be 2. At -3, we're going to have 2. Think of it kind of like finding points. Okay, so when x is 6, what's going to be my y? 4, right? So here's my 6, and that's where it is, at 4. And last one here. When our function is at -5, what is going to be our y? -5. You can also draw a line for these and see where it hits. So it's going to be right here, if that helps. That's also going to be 4. So let's move to this next one here. I have g of 3, so now I have a g function. So when g of 3, so when my x is 3, what is going to be my y? So here's g of 3. Oh look, it's this point right here, which is also going to be 3. How exciting. Next, we're going to have when g at -5, what is going to be my y? It's going to be -6. So here's my -5 on my x-axis, because that's the x we're looking for. We're going to go all the way down and see that it's a -6. And our last one here, when g of 4, so our x is 4, what is going to be my y? Well, let's go over to 4, and look, we have a -5. And remember, you can draw a line for these when you're trying to figure them out, so that way you can see what the best possible answer is. Or if you know, hey, I know I need to go over to 4, there's no points above it, there's a below it, and I know it's -5. Alright? So let's move on. So instead of finding the y's, now we're going to find the x's. So it says, given the function below, find r, which is what my x, essentially my x is. So in this case, we have r. So we have our y, which is equal to 33. So where it has this g of r, I'm going to plug in this number 33 there. So I'm actually going to have 33 equals a -5r plus 13. Remember how I said this will all come back together eventually? Well, here it is. In order to get -5r by itself, I need to get rid of the 13 first. Always make sure it's completely by itself, meaning it's only the number attached to r and that's it. So 33 minus a 13 is actually going to give me a 20. And what's left on the right side is just -5r. Now r is completely by itself, so I can get rid of that -5. In order to do so, since they're next to each other, is multiplication. The opposite would be division. So I'm going to divide both sides by -5. And my r is going to actually equal what? -4. Okay. So then now, where g of r is, so essentially our y, we're going to plug in -2. So now I have -2 equals -5r plus 13. Again, subtract that 13 from both sides. Now remember, these are both negative numbers. So remember, keep change. So I'm going to add the negatives together, which is going to give me a negative 15. And I'm going to bring down the negative 5r, and again, divide by negative 5. Now, negative divided by negative is a positive, so 15 divided by 5 is 3. Last one here down here, same thing. We're going to add negative 17 to where the g of r is, which is essentially our y. So I have negative 5r plus 13. Again, you know what to do. Subtract the 13. So negative 17 and a negative 13 is going to give me a negative 30. And I'm going to bring down negative 5. And then I'll divide by negative 5. Negative divided by negative is positive. 30 divided by 5 is what? 6. Okay, let's do a few more practice problems on your next page. All right, now we're going to do the same exact thing. We're going to take 41 and plug it in for where it says f of x. So I have 41 equals 4x minus 3. What we need to do is add 3 to both sides. 41 plus a 30 is 44. Bring down your 4x. Remember what the last thing to do is? Divide. Yep, divide everything by 4. And 44 divided by 4 is 11. Take your negative 27, and put it in for f of x equals 4x minus 3. Remember, we're finding the x's this time for our problems. Negative 27 plus 3 is actually going to be negative 24. And we bring down our 4x. Again, divide by 4. A negative divided by positive is a negative, so I have negative 6. And the last one, so 9 equals 4x minus 3. Add that 3 over. So then you have 12. And divide by 4. Woo! So 12 divided by 4 is 3. Remember, at any time you can pause the video. I know I'm going a little fast. I apologize. I really want to get down to the graphs here. So let's do so. So for this, you're going to be looking at your y's. So I need to actually figure out what my x is, but I need to go to negative 3 on my y-axis. So I'm actually going to draw a line for these and see and remind myself, hey, I'm looking for what x is. So when y is negative 3, my x is actually going to be a 5. So we're kind of finding it a little bit backwards now. Okay, when I have negative 1, which is going to be right here, my x is actually going to be a negative 2, a positive 2, and a positive 3. Sometimes you might have, multiple answers. And it looks like maybe about 6.5. And now when our y is 0, what is our x? It's going to be a negative 1 and a 7. Moving on to the bottom one here, I actually want you to pause this video and find what these are. Now that you've paused it, at 1, you should have gotten negative 3. At negative 7, you should have gotten a negative 6 for your x. At 5, you should have gotten a 3. And at negative 3, you should have gotten a 4. Remember, these are y's and these are my x's. Okay? Thanks for participating and have a great day.